swim jig fish. Okay. Fish. Yeah. Hey, there's fish down there. That's a good one, Finn. Oh, yeah. There we go. Little finesse jig. Eating like he's supposed to. Decent fish. Decent fish. Right. Man, it's windy out here, folks. It's windy. We're trying to cover some water, play this wind to our advantage. Throwing a swim jig, chatterbait, you know, picking up a jig when we see a nice little piece of cover. And that's kind of the plan today. Water temps are like 60 to 62. And there was some rain that came through this morning. The sun's trying to peek out, but the wind is stout, so we're just gonna move around, see what happens.
One of my favorite ways to catch bass is with a jig, and I typically have 3 types of jigs tied on. One will be a casting jig, you know, something to flip, something to drag around. That's typically going to be the Procaster or the Little Rock Finesse jig by Cumberland Pro Lures. I also like to have a swim jig. That would be the Bama swim jig, also by Cumberland Pro Lures, and then a bladed jig, aka a chatterbait. They all 3 go hand in hand, and that's what I did on this day. There was a lot of wind out there. I wanted to cover some water, but if I found an area that looked good, I could pick up that Procaster and kind of drag it around, or if I had some laydowns, I could flip it in the wood. But as I'm covering water, that's when the swim jig and the chatterbait came in. The swim jig and the chatterbait kind of go hand in hand. A lot of times when the water is kind of calm and quiet, you're going to catch more fish on that swim jig because it is a little more finessey. It's more subtle. It's more stealthy. It's not so obtrusive. It doesn't make a lot of noise. It doesn't have that blade like that chatterbait. It's just a little minnow or bluegill swimming through the water, and it seems to prevail in those kind of quieter conditions. That's not always the case. I caught quite a few fish on the swim jig in the wind on this day, but most of the time in those windy conditions, the same kind of conditions where you would throw a spinnerbait, that's where your chatterbait's going to come in. And there's one trailer that I've been using lately. It's the Yamamoto 3-inch Yama Crawl, and the thing I really like about this trailer is you can put it on the bladed jig, you can put it on the swim jig, and you can put it on your dragging jig, and it works great on either one. So you can just have one pack of these. Well, actually, there's a couple different colors that I like, but you can have one style, and it works on all 3 of the jigs that I'm fishing.
Alright, swim jig fish. I'm just rotating between the chatterbait and the swim jig. And so far the swim jig has been getting more bites. Just Cumberland Pro Lures, Bama swim jig with a 3-inch Yama Crawl on there. You know, I got bluegill top, and then that kind of black and blue with some silver flake in it. Just a good combination, just mixing and matching, and just throwing it on this Vertus 7'2" red diamond swim jig rod. Really good rod. It's multi-purpose. It's great for, man, swim jig, chatterbait, spinnerbait, shaky head. It's a really deadly little shaky head rod. 15-pound test. Let's get back after it. There he is. Fish. Another one on the swim jig. Had to let that sucker fall down a little bit. But man, they're getting it good. They're getting it good. Just fishing this grass, a little bit deeper grass. It's a good, healthy fish. It's fun. Glad to get a moving bite.
Right now, there's two things going on. There's the shad fish that are out a little deeper, and then there's the bluegill that are tucked into the grass. And that's kind of what I was targeting, was the bluegill, because I was fishing a lot shallower. And I ran out of the Yama crawl, so I put on this swimming Zinco, which is it's a swimming Zacco. It's a just like the regular Zacco that's so popular, but it's got the little paddle tail on there. So it works great on a swim jig, because if you just got the original Zacco, I'm not sure how to say it, but it doesn't have any action unless you put it on a bladed jig. But for a swim jig, the little boot tail works really great. Green pumpkin, and the other color that I've been throwing in a bunch is, it's basically like a sapphire blue, but it's a little bit darker than the sapphire blue, and they call it bruised shin. This is a great little color. I like to actually put this color on a green pumpkin swim jig. It's got a lot of contrast. It just covers all of the basic colors of a bluegill.
Jig fish. Lay down. It's so quiet in here. I thought, well, I'm gonna have to put a little jig around here. Go. Another one. Oh. Little lump and that jig get it done. That's right. Fishing shallow grass. It's a great little jig, man. Great little jig. That little Yama crawl in there. Fishing slow. I haven't really been able to do this because it's so windy out there in the main lake, but we just pulled back in the back of this cove, and I don't know, just looked like might be a spot to flip a jig and catch a few fish real quick. I caught some fish on the little runt finesse jig that day, but I also caught some fish on the Procaster, just a 3/8 ounce Procaster. And once again, you see that Yama crawl in there, 3-inch Yama crawl. So green pumpkin and that bruised shin are black and blue. Those three colors really excel in any conditions. And it's just about getting in the right areas and figuring out what they want. Like I said, covering water with your moving baits like your swim jig and your bladed jig, and then if you see some pieces of wood or something that looks a little bit juicy, or a point that's got the wind blowing on it, a little hard spot, you can pick up that Procaster and drag it around. That's how the video went. I did find some striper, and I casted them with a little jig head minnow, so you'll see that in the middle of this. But other than that, I was just covering water and trying to locate some fish, and that's a key in fall. With fall, you gotta cover water because the fish are really spread out. If you do find an area that's holding a lot of shad, a lot of bait, a lot of fish swimming around, definitely slow down and pick those areas apart. A lot of the fish are out deeper, roaming around in open water, but when you get in those areas that have concentrations of fish relating to shad, there's gonna be some of those fish sitting up shallower. So those are the kind of areas where you would want to slow down and pitch any kind of visible cover with that jig, and you'll generate a few bites doing that. I think that's a striper. I saw some fish swim by and I tossed my little minnow down there. So I came up and grabbed it. This could take a while. Good way to test your knot out though. See them down there on the live scope. There's a whole bunch of them down there. They are down there. Uh-oh. See my fluorocarbon. Here he comes. Oh yeah, pretty good fish. Pretty good one. Pretty good fish. Look at all the stripers. Little minnow right in his face. We got Finn. That's fun. See that didn't enlarge, but I'll be a lake record. Come here, buddy. There we go. Let's get a pretty good fish. How about that, folks? That's a beauty. Big old striper. Oh, 8-pound test. Look at that. Old big bite baits hook. Got him right in the snout. Okay. That took entirely too long. We're trying to get some swim jig fish. But saw these guys swim underneath the boat, and I'm like, yeah, let's flip it over there. And that's what happened. 10 minutes later, the fish was not coming off. Well, there you go. That's a good one. Heavy, man. These fish are heavy right now. All right, folks, midday reports. We got about an hour and a half left to fish, and it's been slow, but we are getting some bites. You know, my chesty cam died, so I missed some fish catches. But we're just covering water mainly with the swim jig. That seems to be the best thing. I've thrown a chatterbait, caught a few on an actual jig, that little runt finesse jig, Cumberland Pro Lures, and I haven't got a bite on a chatterbait. I did get a bite on a rattle trap, but it seems to me the best bait right now is just throwing that swim jig, that Bama swim jig. I don't know, from like 3 to like 10 foot is basically where I've been getting my bites. I've been working deeper grass, been working through the middle of grass, and man, it is super windy. I mean, the wind's blowing probably like, it's sustained about 20, but there's some gusts up to like 40, so it's pretty rowdy out here. There's tornado watches, but I think we're gonna be okay. So we got a few hours, well, we got about an hour and a half left to fish, and we're just gonna keep our heads down, keep covering water. The water temperatures, I've got 63.8 back here on the Lowrance, so 61 on the Garmin. Garmin always reads like a couple degrees cooler for whatever reason. It's clear too. I mean, the water visibility is like 5 foot, 6 foot. A lot of the grass is dead. There's hardly any mats. I mean, there's some scattered mats, but it's pretty much just, you know, I don't know. It's just not punchable. You can punch through, but it ain't what you're looking for. It's just not thick enough. So here we go. Try to catch another. I did miss a giant while ago. I had like a 5-pounder hooked up, and I was just trying to horse it, and it came off right at the boat. Oh, 5-pounder. Just pulled him off. I'm trying to horse him. Stupid. That was another one. There you go. Nice channel cat. I thought that was a striper or a bass. There's everything out here swimming around. Nasty thing. This wind is so bad in here. I switched up this chatterbait because I think they can see the swim jig, and I lost my favorite amount of my favorite swim jig trailers. Got him that time. There we go. That chatterbait fish. I have to switch up the chatterbait as it gets closer to dark. That fish, I think that fish hit it like 3 times, 4 times. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, you just cover a lot of water without bites, and all of a sudden you get in one little area and you get 2 or 3 bites. And if you stay there too long, it's over. You just got to keep moving. It's fall fishing.
As far as the chatterbait, I typically throw a 1/2 ounce. This is a Beehive Delight, but I like that Zako on there. I like that. This is a kind of a magic craw colored Zako. It goes really good with this color. It's just a good combination.
Look at that. Right by the boat. Right by the boat. What do you think, Finn? Chatterbait's starting to work a little bit. There we go. He's gonna keep covering over water. 3 jigs you need in the fall. That's the deal, man. Get some bites on the old chatterwagon. Fat little fish. Caught us one. There we go. Hey, give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the content, and don't forget to subscribe. You know, we caught some fish today. It wasn't easy. I had to switch it up to this little chatterbait with a Yamamoto Seiko on the back, just because of the wind and it's getting darker. But covered some water. Swim jig bite was decent. Chatterbait bite was okay. You know, just it's that time of year. You just got to put your head down, cover a lot of water. Some days are really biting, some days it's a little bit tougher. That's kind of how it was today. It was a little bit tough, but we did manage to scrape up some fish. So I'll leave links to this stuff in the description box. Use the code THM10 at Baitworks and get you 10% off any order. It was fun. Beautiful day. It's fixing to get cold. Finley had a great time. Life is good. Till next time.